Thank you, Bruce. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome to our month of prosperity. Who's ready for more prosperity and more abundance in your life? If you're not, you can be excused. Now, our goal this month is to really zero in on prosperity, to expand our prosperity consciousness. Do you know that we live in a universe that was actually designed to function, to funnel all manner of good into your life and mine? That's what this whole universe is about. That's what this world is about, to bring good to you and me. And yet so many of us fail to experience all of the good, all of the love, all of the joy, all of the prosperity that we desire. So we're going to talk, not only today, but in the coming weeks, about removing the blocks that keep our prosperity coming to us. In the spiritual journey, everybody thinks it's about adding this and that and the other thing to our life, but really it's not. We are whole and perfect and complete as we are. We've just taken on all these goofy notions over our years of living in this world. And now what we need to do is clear away those blocks, get rid of those incorrect ideas and notions, so that we can simply relax and be the glorious being that Bruce just led us in singing about, whole and perfect, and receptive to all the prosperity, to all the abundance that we can possibly accept. So we have to ask ourselves at the beginning of this series, just what is prosperity to you? What does abundance mean to you? And we all have different definitions. Now, the first thing, of course, that comes to mind for most of us is money or wealth or financial security. And those are things that are really useful in the world. But let me ask you this. How many people do you know or have you known who are financially solid, maybe even wealthy, but lack joy, lack robust health, lack meaningful relationships and fulfilling friendships? I can't help but think of the movie The Aviator, the story of Howard Hughes' life. Here was a man who was ridiculously wealthy. I mean, talk about more money than God. But he died destitute. Not destitute in terms of financial things, but destitute in terms of health and being totally overwhelmed by health issues, probably mental health issues. All the money in the world did not buy him the fulfillment that I would imagine would have really meant a lot more to him than all the money in the world. Money is useful in our culture. It comes in pretty handy when you go to the grocery store, doesn't it? It provides comfort and ease. But is money really all that prosperity is about? What's your definition of prosperity? I asked a prosperity class this once upon a time, and some of the responses I got included these. One woman said, prosperity to me means not having to work for a living. Another one said, prosperity is not having to deal with everyone else's problems day in and day out, or being pressured to do more with less. A fellow said, prosperity, abundance is having the freedom and the wherewithal to spend my time doing those things I enjoy, doing those things that bring me satisfaction. Another woman said, prosperity means having the time to volunteer and to help others. And yet another person in that class said, abundance to me means health, freedom from physical challenges. What does prosperity, what does abundance mean to you? And I ask you to give that some serious thought and consideration this week as we move into our series on prosperity. And I'm even going to give you a method to help zero in on that. You see, if we don't know what prosperity is for us, if we don't define it for us, it won't come. I mean, we can have all of these little thoughts and nigglings and ideas about what prosperity is, but until we get specific with this universe that wants to respond to us about what prosperity is, we're just going to get a hodgepodge. This is a reciprocal universe. We have to remember that. What we put out comes back to us. And as we turn the energy of our thinking onto ideas of good and plenty and fulfillment, that's what we will experience in our life. We have to. It's spiritual law. We've been talking about that in the last few weeks as we've explored the subject of karma. Cause and effect, and like attracts like. What we put out there comes back to us. And this is one of the first points on creating prosperity that I want to focus on this morning. Do we emanate joy, happiness, and delight in all the things that bless us, or not? You know, we seem to be a culture that's addicted to drama. Most people go around seemingly looking for people to commiserate with, to complain to share with about their challenges and issues. And as they focus on that, they wonder, why doesn't life get any better? Think about the conversations you've had with people recently. Have they been eager to tell you everything that's wonderful and glorious in their life and all the blessings that they're just wrapping their arms around and enjoying? Or are they eager to tell you their aches and their pains, their disappointments, their frustrations? You know, it seems to be a normal human trait to complain and to focus on what's not wonderful and good and uplifting. But it sabotages us. It sabotages our happiness and our abundance because it steps outside of spiritual law, or rather more accurately, it engages spiritual law, but brings us results that aren't the results we truly want. Somehow it seems to be more exciting, more dramatic to talk about what's going wrong than what's going right. I had a real interesting interaction just this week with a friend of mine who'd gone on a trip. And I asked her how her travels were, and she said, "Oh, Laurie, you wouldn't believe it. I got on the plane and I was flying to Oklahoma City, and there was something wrong with the plane, and we had to land in Lubbock, Texas." I've never been to Lubbock, but apparently she was not real impressed, at least with the airport on Lubbock. And she went on, telling me what a miserable experience it was to spend 3 hours in that horrible airport. And they finally got another plane, and they reloaded that and shuffled everybody ultimately to where they wanted to be. And I said, boy, that must have been a miserable trip. And she said, oh, you can't believe how miserable it was. Was the conversation I unfolded. I said, so what was in Oklahoma City? Oh, well, there was a girlfriend from college that she hadn't connected with for ages. So she went to Oklahoma City to reconnect with her friend, and they went to museums and a concert, and she got introduced to these wonderful restaurants, and the two of them had just the best time reconnecting and visiting and being together. Isn't that interesting? 4 days in Oklahoma City of fun and joy and friendship. And what does she focus on about the trip? 3 hours in the airport at Lubbock, Texas. Don't we do that? I think if we're really honest with ourselves, we might catch ourselves now and then focusing on what's not so fun and completely forgetting to recognize all the good that this universe is pouring out for us. Why don't we focus on the good? That's a question that puzzled me and confounded me for years, until I read that science tells us it's neurological. Our brain is actually hardwired to pay attention to difficulties and problems. It's about survival, right? The brain's not going to get all concerned about things that are going well, because they are going well. It doesn't have to really do anything except go along for the ride. But if there's an issue or a potential problem, boy, the brain is right there zeroing in on the problems of life. Well, that's helpful for survival, but it's counterproductive to engaging the universe in positive and fulfilling ways. For this reason, we need to be very conscious in noting and celebrating the good that we enjoy all the time. That's why we need to conscientiously practice being joy. Can you be joy? Let's affirm that together. I am joy. Together. I am joy. Now say it like you're really joyful. I am joy. You gotta smile when you say that, you know. You can't say I am joy. You gotta be joyful. When we focus on joy, when we focus on what's good, what blesses us, it creates an energetic imprint that goes out into the universe, and because the universe responds in like kind, it has to come back to us with more good, more things that bring us joy, more things that bring us happiness. Our joy is one of the things that circumvents the roadblock of negative, unhappy, complaining thinking. As I said earlier, the spiritual journey isn't just about creating our desires through positive thinking. It's actually about getting out of the way and allowing life to fill our experience with joy and wonder and all the good that we can accept. So thinking back to my conversation with my girlfriend, I thought, now what would that look like if her focus had been on the joy of her trip, rather than the misery of the airport in Lubbock, Texas? Well, she would have talked first and foremost about the great trip she had, and the time she spent with her friend, and the wonderful things that they did, and the fun of reconnecting. And she might have noted, you know, there was a little glitch in getting there, and we got diverted to Lubbock, but you know, it was so cool that the airline was concerned about its passengers and inconvenienced us a little bit for our own safety, and that they brought in another whole plane to get us to where we were wanting to go safely. You hear the difference? It wasn't all complaining. It wasn't all misery. It was a focus on what was good and wonderful. And even looking at the sidebar Lubbock, Texas incident, seeing the good in that as well. In fact, part of our job in looking for the joy in life is to take a look and see if we can find the silver lining in anything that comes our way. I was looking at cash flow this week, and I realized, oh gosh, property taxes are due in October. And immediately the thought was, oh, is the cash flow going to cover it? Are we going to have to tap into savings? I wish property taxes weren't so much. Why do they keep going up and up? And then I stopped. I caught myself. I said, okay, Laurie, where is the silver lining? Where is the good in this situation? Where can you find joy? Well, I started focusing on it, and I realized, you know, property taxes are going up because the value of our home's gone up. That's good news. And property taxes are there to provide the beautiful streets we drive on all day long, to remove the snow, to fill the potholes. There are a lot of reasons for property tax that bless us, to provide wonderful schools for our children. So instead of being concerned the property taxes were about to be due, I shifted my focus totally to the good, to the silver lining of what I could perceive of as a cloud. What are those property taxes doing for us? What are they doing for our community to make it a better place to be, a greater place to live? We need to be conscious. We need to pay attention. We need to look for the good stuff. And then we need to celebrate it. There is a time to focus on challenges. If there's a challenge in your life, and if there's somebody you know that might be able to help you brainstorm the issue or maybe come up with a solution, do talk with them about it. But don't go with the idea of complaining and being miserable about the challenge. Go with the idea of, let's look at the challenge and come up with a creative solution. If all you're going to do is complain, you're heading the wrong way and you're putting out an energetic imprint that I promise you will give you more to complain about. Don't be surprised as you focus on the good and the wonderful things in life, on those blessings that you ferret out, even from situations that on the surface don't appear to be blessings. Don't be surprised if you begin to feel not only joy, but gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for this universe that blesses us in so many ways. And we know in unity, gratitude, like joy, is a causative force. So your first assignment this week is to be joy. No matter what comes up in your life, find something in it to be joyful about. Your second assignment is this. We talked a minute ago about what is prosperity to you. You get to write it down. Yes, take paper, take a pen or pencil, and sit down and start writing. What is prosperity to you? What does prosperity mean to you? What do you desire? Do you know the word desire actually has the same word as of the Father? In other words, are your desires of the Father? That is, are your desires, the deep desires of your heart, divinely inspired? And when you write down what you desire, what looks like prosperity to you, what feels like prosperity, make sure they're your desires. Not your partner's, not your mom or dad's. Make sure you're focused on what you desire. Get specific about your desires by writing them down. It keeps you on track with your choices throughout the day and helps you focus on the good you desire as you manifest it. That's what our daily word was about this morning. Faith, focusing on what you want to create and keeping your focus there. Your thoughts, confirmed by your written words, go out into the ethers and they work through people, through circumstances and events, opening the way, removing the roadblock so that your good can come to you. One of my affirmations on my list for years has always been, my good comes to me in amazing and wonderful ways. I want to share with you a couple of examples. This is from the book Open Your Mind to Prosperity by Catherine Ponder, a wonderful, gifted Unity teacher. And she shares a couple stories that I'm going to share with you about people who wrote lists of what they desired, of what they perceived prosperity to be. The first one was a businessman from Philadelphia. He was asked by a large corporation to address 92 of their top executives, for which he was paid a rather handsome fee. As he led the executives in this course, he asked them to write out the things they wished to experience in life. he reports the following results. Miracles happened. Miracles. Everyone was healed. Everyone was healed of health problems, even so-called incurable diseases. Out of 92 executives, all but 2 said they had experienced vast good in the subsequent weeks. All of them got raises in pay. All of them got some kind of a promotion or an advancement. Health problems, prosperity, personality problems, all were resolved simply by using the list method. You gonna go home and make your list? Well, here's a little more to get you thinking. Catherine Ponder was coaching a gentleman who happened to be in the insurance business. And he told her that he was really bogged down. He was in the President's Club. He sold $1 million of insurance each and every year, which was quite an accomplishment. But he wanted to sell $2 million of insurance a year and to go onward and upward from there. So Catherine Ponder told him he should go into his office every morning, an hour before anyone else got there, an hour before the phone started ringing, an hour before people started demanding his time and attention. In that hour, he was supposed to look at his list, his prosperity list, and based on that list, write out his list for the day of what he wanted to accomplish. And at the top of his daily list, she instructed him to write, "The success power of the Christ Spirit in me is in absolute control of this day, producing perfect results here and now." Now this gentleman called Catherine Ponder after just a week, and he said, "It works. It works. I can hardly believe how much has been accomplished this week, easily and peacefully. I sold 2 $50,000 policies, and I have an appointment to make what will be the largest sale of my entire career, and I am well on my way past the $1 million mark and going for $2 million." And then he outlined his 5-year plan, taking his prosperity list, his daily list, and extrapolating it out over 5 years, where each year he envisioned selling an additional $1 million of insurance, expanding his business, hiring employees, and being a blessing to the world in a way he had never been before. And he did it. And it all started by writing a list. We need to get in touch with what we think is prosperity. Lee and I were discussing it over the last couple days, and it was interesting to discover that some of the things he thinks are prosperity are different from some of the things I think are prosperity. And then, of course, there were areas where we agreed that, yes, this would be prosperity too. Write it down. This is for you. Don't share it with anyone unless you know they can be absolutely supportive of you. But write down what is prosperity to you. And use that list to guide you through all of your choices, day by day by day. Use it to chart and log and note your successes. How many of you have ever participated in a mastermind group? That's part of mastermind. You put your desire out there. You ask your prayer partners to support you in that desire, and then you come back and you check in with them and share with them how your prayers were answered. As you work with your list, don't be afraid to tweak it and modify it along the way. I pulled out a list that Lee and I made some years ago, and I noticed that there were some things on the list that 10, 15 years ago seemed like they'd be really cool and important to have, and it just didn't resonate with me. So change your list as you get in touch of the deeper desires of your heart. Make your list and work it. Celebrate. Be joyful. Celebrating all the good that is already yours. Isn't every day an absolute wonder if you take the time to notice? What is it today, right now, that's delighting you, that's bringing you joy and happiness? What happened yesterday or this last week that is so wonderful? You couldn't wait to go home and tell your friend or your partner or your spouse about this neat thing that happened. It doesn't have to be big and earth-shaking. All it has to do is bring you joy. And as you focus on those things that bring you joy, as you wrap yourself around that feeling of joy and fulfillment, as you share those feelings with others, pay attention to how you feel. Allow that sense of joy to bubble up and fill you up, overflowing. You might feel every cell and system of your body just vibrating with joy. And then watch with delight as your joy, as your celebration, as your list engage the universe's positive response, giving you the deepest desires of your heart. So let's know once again our affirmation for today. Together, grateful for the supportive universe, I consciously cultivate thoughts and attitudes that allow more good to flow easily into my life. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for all the good I can accept. And so it joyfully is.